I do want to express thanks to you, Donald Trump, for being with us tonight. We need your building skills, your gusto, your rent package for people on Wall Street who represent diversity. And we thank you for coming tonight. Let's give Donald Trump a big hand. A big hand for Donald Trump. I now want to bring forth a friend who has, he is deceptive in that his social style is of such. One can miss his seriousness and his commitment, but his success is beyond argument. When we opened this Wall Street project and we talked about it, he gave us space at 40 Wall Street, which was to make a statement about our having a presence there. Beyond that, in terms of reaching out and being inclusive, he's done that too. And created for many people a comfort zone when I ran for the presidency in 84 and 88. And many others thought it was either laughable or something to avoid. He came to our business meeting here in New York because he has this sense of the curious and a will to risk to make things better. And so aside from all of his style and his pizzazz, he's a serious person who's an effective builder of building for the builder people. Last year he was a part of our workshop, of our panel workshop on what are the challenges and opportunities. And so this, a year later, Donald Trump, for a few minutes, challenges and opportunities to embrace the underserved communities. Donald Trump.
I will tell you, a large percentage of the people, and especially in construction, that are building these great jobs are black and minorities, and I'm very proud of it. We have close to 25%, and I think the number's going up, and they do a great job. There are no better builders than we have in New York, and a big percentage of that is black and minority folks. So I just want to thank everybody in the room for being here. I look forward to some questions, and then I don't know how we're ever going to leave this building today, because if you look outside, it is terrible, but we'll figure a way. There's always a way, and thank you, Jesse, and congratulations.
Hey, before I get started, guys, I just want to tell those who tune in here for more of the apologetics stuff and are not really interested in the politics that I sometimes talk about. I got some really good apologetic videos coming up. How to debate an atheist, how to debate Christians who don't believe that miracles still happen today. Believe it or not, there's a large segment of the Protestantism that don't believe miracles and spiritual gifts exist. So I got a couple of videos on that coming up. And I've been reading some really good guys on spiritual warfare and demonic oppression. Really interesting stuff that we're going to discuss. But I really felt that I had to finish my talk on Trump, because my last video I came out in defense of Donald Trump, and I know if you're a Christian, you may get the same response I get. How can you support that guy? He's a racist. So I wanted to have a honest discussion. Is Donald Trump a racist? I mean, this is the first president in the history where you have actual political rivals straight out calling him a racist. I mean, Bernie Sanders came out and said it the other day. Donald Trump is a racist. I mean, it's clear as day. And the media, which every Gallup poll since 1980 has said, every year they do a Gallup poll on their political affiliation, 92% have never voted for a Republican. So, you know where the media stands on Donald Trump. It's obvious. So I'm just giving you the facts. You know, I grew up in New Jersey. Donald Trump was across the river in New York. He's a very familiar guy to me. I never heard of him being a racist until he ran for president. And I just showed you Jesse Jackson praising him for helping the black community in New York. And if you listen carefully, Number one, Jesse Jackson talked about when he ran for president. I don't know if he ever officially endorsed him because Jesse Jackson didn't get far in the Democratic primary, but it was everybody's thought. We kind of assumed if he won the Democratic primary, Trump was so close to him that he would have endorsed him and would have helped him out financially because he was helping him out financially already. So he would have probably endorsed the first black presidential candidate, in all honesty. And then it's no small thing when he said 25% of the construction jobs on his sites are minorities. That's huge. I grew up in Jersey. When I got out of the Navy, I couldn't get a construction job. You know what those construction jobs pay? The average construction job in New York City pays over $90,000 a year. I'm serious. Those jobs are impossible for the average guy to get. So he had to go out of his way somehow to get these minorities in. So he went out of his way to help out the minority community. If he was a racist, I don't think he would do that. I mean, I'm telling you how hard it is. When I got out of the Navy, I couldn't even get a job as a roofer. In my town, they had the roofers union. And at the time, if you got into the program, you start out as an apprentice, a journeyman, and you go all the way up. It was a 5-year program. When you finish the 5-year program, the average roofer is making $80,000. This is in 1989. And when I went for the program, I thought, I'm a veteran, I'm gonna get right in. They said, man, this is, we got a grant, the union got a grant from the government, and we could only put minorities into the program. So the guy in the union said, man, I feel bad, you just served your country. He said, just write down you're Hispanic. We'll lie and tell them you're Hispanic. I said, bro, I'm a Christian, I'm not gonna lie. He's like, well, you're not gonna get in then. I said, well, if it's God's will that I get in, I won't have to lie. And I don't want to be on a roof, I don't want to be on a skyscraper if I'm not in God's will, Don't test the Lord. But I'm not saying this to spew racial hate. In fact, I'm saying this because Christians are not supposed to be racist. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Anybody. The Good Samaritan story. I mean, Christians know this is basic Christianity 101, that racism is evil, okay? My priest, he gives the best homilies I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I can't think of a better preacher than my priest in my local parish as far as giving homilies. And somehow he always weaves into every homily every week about loving your neighbor. No matter what the subject is, he always comes back, if it isn't love, it isn't God. And he always talks about racism and hate and judging people by the way they look or what they believe. And I agree with him, and I say amen, and he reminds us every day that we're to love our neighbor no matter who they are or where they're from or what they believe. So the Bible is explicit. There's no Jew nor Greek. God looks at us all as equal, okay? There's, even in the Old Testament, Moses married an Ethiopian woman, and Miriam was mad, and God punished Miriam. So God hates it, That was an interracial marriage 10,000 years ago, before it was even legal in the United States. It was only like maybe 50 years ago, right? So the Bible and the Catholic Church hate racism, okay? But I need to qualify and say this because some things I say may be taken out of context and be used as a racist statement. Like, for example, I didn't get the roofing job because I wasn't Hispanic or black. And that same thing happened with the fire department and the police department. I don't know when my white privilege is going to kick in, but it hasn't yet. But I'm not angry. It's God's will. God is in control, and we're to love our neighbors as ourselves. I'm a conservative because I believe what Martin Luther King Jr. said, judge a man by his character, the content of his character, not the color of his skin. So we should all be allowed to go for these roofing jobs, fireman jobs, and let the best man win. I think that's condescending to tell a black person or a minority he needs help. But that's getting off subject. But getting back to Donald Trump. So not only did he give these great 90,000 a year jobs to the blacks in his community and to the Hispanics in his community, he donated a ton of money to the Rainbow Coalition that they were able to afford a whole floor in Wall Street. I mean, there was no way that group could afford it if Donald Trump didn't help him out. And he's always been a friend to Jesse Jackson and that community there. Like I said, only since he's become president has people claimed he was racist. And when people say, oh, he's racist, how can you support him? I say, give me some examples. What has he done that was racist? Oh, well, he says racist things. What has he said? And there's only two things that I always hear. When he came down that escalator and he said, oh, he said, all the Mexicans coming over are drug dealers and rapists and murderers. I said, no, what he said was the Mexican government is smarter than our government. He complimented the Mexican people. He said they're not sending their best and their brightest. They're sending their rapists, their drug dealers. So he wasn't saying all Mexicans are bad. He was just saying that's what they're sending. The good ones they're trying to keep. They're encouraging them to stay. They're not literally sending them, but they're not encouraging them not to go, is how I took it. And he said, well, he wants to build a wall. I'm like, well, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, when they were senators, they voted for a wall, and the wall's there. It's a 650-mile wall. They voted for it under Bush, and nobody had a problem with it. A wall's not racist. I mean, all Donald Trump did was ask the Border Patrol, what do they need to protect our border? Because right now, if you're not paying attention, I'll let you in on a secret. There's an opioid crisis. A lot of kids and a lot of grown-ups are getting addicted to opioids and dying. This is a crisis, this opioid epidemic, and 90% of the opioids are coming across the border. So he asked the Border Patrol, and they said we need to add to that 655-mile wall in some spots. Not the whole wall, not the whole border, but in a lot of spots we need it. Where the wall is, we don't have any problems, so that frees up our men from that area to go to other areas. So the wall's not racist. Then they said, well, what about Charlottesville? When those white neo-Nazis beat up those liberals and the girl died, and he said they were both sides, were both, guilty. That was racist. I said, no. He said he condemns the KKK. He said he condemns the neo-Nazis. But Antifa, a left-wing group that I've seen their leaders say that they're justified to commit violence, to punch people, hit people with bats, if they're speaking hate, because that hate speech, what they consider hate speech, is violent. So they confront violence with violence. So they admit of using violence. So this Antifa group went there swinging bats. So, there were two extreme parties. There was extreme left and extreme right. And that's all he was saying. There was extremes on both sides, And all the media did was run, because they're anti-Trump, and just said, oh, he was equating, these peaceful protesters. He wasn't equating the peaceful protesters. He was equating the Antifa guys that were there. So, what has he done for blacks and minorities? Well, black unemployment today is the lowest it's been in the history of the United States. Hispanic unemployment is the lowest it's been in the history of the United States. Minority business ownership is the highest it's been ever in the United States. So, look at what he's doing. He's helping the black and minority communities. I mean, Hillary Clinton said her mentor was Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd was the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And when he died, he was the third-ranking member of the Democratic Senate. He was the third-ranking Democrat in the Senate when he died. And that's when Hillary Clinton said, oh, he was my mentor, I'm going to miss him. I mean, imagine if that was a Republican dude. You don't hear much about it. And you say, well, he changed. But right before his death, I seen him on an interview. He dropped the N-word like 5 times on national television. And they just kind of ignored that. Imagine if a Republican or Trump dropped the N-word on national television. Or if there was a Republican that used to be a Grand Wizard of the KKK. There's no way he could be. They wouldn't allow it. The media would just be on him 24/7. No one would allow that. And even Hillary Clinton recently, as I seen her in an interview like 3 months ago, and the interview got Cory Booker confused with another African-American politician. And Hillary Clinton joked, oh, they all look alike. And she joked. Imagine if Trump or a Republican joked that all black people look alike and laughed. That didn't get any media coverage. Google it. It really happened. So all I'm saying is our president is not a racist. He's never been accused of racism until he ran for presidency. So Christians hate racism. We should stand up against it everywhere we see it. Real racism. We should stand up against it. But when someone's falsely accused, think about it. Why are they falsely accusing him? Because he's the most pro-life president we've ever had. And if you're a Catholic or if you're a Protestant Christian, that should be your number one concern, is unborn children are being ripped apart, brutally murdered every day in this country. That needs to stop. Then we can go on and discuss all the other issues of the day. So, again, I'm going to get to Catholic apologetics in my next few series of videos, but I just really felt like this had to come out. So I do not believe our president is a racist. If I believed that, I would not have voted for him. God bless.